Greetings, guys, gals, non-binary pals, and welcome back to another video. Over on this channel, we love to talk about some problematic parents. That is something that I do a lot here, because there is no shortage of problematic parents in every single way. We have toxic boy moms, we have almond moms, we have overly strict parents, we have insane parents, we have a bunch of different types of parents that all require a deeper look into, and we do some good bonding over childhood trauma. And recently, I realized that I've never ventured into the area of entitled parents. There is a whole subreddit that has been left untouched despite my regular videos about parents. So today, I thought that we would have a little bit of a venture into r/entitled parents, because I'm sure there's a lot of material there for us to get into and discuss. Without further ado, let's look at some entitled parents. Actually, hold on, without further ado, I would first like to say a massive thank you to today's patron of the day, Chris. I appreciate your support so much. Thank you so much for joining. If anyone else would like to become a patron, you can go to patreon.com/savvycat. Click the top link in the description. It starts at as little as £1 a month, and I appreciate it greatly. And Chris, I hope you enjoy this video. Okay, now, without further ado, let's have some look at some entitled parents. Cousin abandoned my niece at my house while I was camping. Just from the title, okay. Over the week, my husband and I went on a camping trip before summer season with its glorious weather was officially over. We weren't home and had no cell reception where we were. We left Thursday, September 7, and returned Monday, September 11. While we were away, my cousin left my niece still strapped to her car seat outside my door on Friday, September 8th, and sent me some text messages. Remember, I have no cell reception where I was camping. I would never have known while I was gone. I saw the missed messages after I returned home. It wasn't a request to ask if I can help her. It was simply a message notifying me that she had left my niece in front of my door along with a bag with her stuff for the weekend. She did not ask me beforehand if I could help her babysit. There was no possible way for me to know. Even if I knew, I would have still declined unless it was a medical emergency in the family and they had no other choice. I live in a rural area where everyone is on 30-acre plots of land, so no one knew my niece was there. I had no clue, and the neighbors had no clue. My niece was literally abandoned in front of my door until Saturday noon, when my parents came by to drop off parcels that were delivered to their house. That's when they saw my niece. My parents called my aunt and had her come pick her up. I can only assume that my parents, my aunt, and my grandmother scolded my cousin for leaving my niece at my door. When I got home, all I saw was the initial text message telling me my niece was dropped off at my place. Then a string of very rude text messages and voice messages from my cousin calling me irresponsible for leaving my niece outside and endangering her. Because what if the coyotes in my area attacked the helpless infant? I'm sorry. I'm sorry. You drop your child off. Sorry, don't drop your child off. You leave your child outside of someone else's house without any heads up, without any warning, without checking their home. You just leave your child there. And then you call them irresponsible for neglecting your child that you left there in the first place? How is anyone in this situation neglectful except for you? In what possible world could you pass the blame to someone else for this? How could you try to make anyone else out to being irresponsible here? You're so irresponsible for not coming and bringing your niece inside when I left her outside your house without checking if you were even home in the first place. How dare you do that? This is so horrifyingly traumatic. That poor child. Holy shit. That's a full day. I don't know what time on Friday, but for at least like a full day and night, from sometime on Friday to the middle of Saturday, there was a small child strapped into a car by themselves. No food, no water. It's hot. This is summer. And coyotes could break in and hurt the child. And like, okay, this person's parents came in the next day, saw their niece, called the mother and was like, come get your child, what the hell? And like had a screaming match, I hope. But I don't think they should have given the child back. Honestly, someone needs to get involved here. CPS, the court, I don't know. But like you cannot do that to a child. That is straight up child neglect. That child could have died. If the parents didn't come to drop off a parcel that day, that child could have been there for 4 days. 4 days, and no one would have known. Aside from the fact that I would never, ever just drive my child to someone's house and leave them outside the door. Aside from the fact that I would never do that. The fact that you can send a text and say, I left my child here, and then a whole day can go by without you receiving a confirmation text or any updates, and you still are like, yeah, she's probably fine. If I don't hear back within like 10 minutes, I'm like, okay, obviously she's not there, I'm gonna go get my child. But you know, no like sane, healthy, good parent is going to be doing that. You don't leave your child somewhere without handing them to an adult. Go knock on the door. This implies that like she knew that they weren't home. Like, did she try and knock on the door and there was no answer? She's like, oh, she'll be back later today. I'll just leave my kid here for a bit until she gets home. Like, in what world do you just leave your car with a baby unattended? That's like some psychological torture for real though. Like the loneliness that child must have felt, the hunger, the thirst, the heat, the exhaustion, the confusion. And like, I know that the child is like young enough to be strapped into like a car seat, but that's gonna be some like long lasting trauma, like physically damaging, mentally damaging, should be taken away from their parents, especially if the mother has the audacity to try to make that into someone else's fault. Clearly not someone who takes any responsibility, nor does she actually care about her child. That's like past entitled, and that's just like terrible parent, terrible person. Like should not be a parent. Have your kids taken away from you immediately. My in-laws are suing me for part ownership in my company. This is just happening. It started today. I was served the papers. My husband and I, both male, had issues with them a while back that resulted in us going no contact. I have had my restaurant since I was in my 20s, long before my husband was ever in my life. My in-laws felt that after we got married, it became a family business and they were entitled to ownership. My husband and I have a prenup and postnup that states my husband and his family have no stake in the business and I am sole owner, and they know this and have known this. This issue caused us to go no contact with his family because of their entitled greed. My husband is beyond pissed and my lawyer is assuring me that they will lose. For some reason, I'm laughing about it. Just one more headache I didn't need. That's wild. Like, that is so entitled. It's so funny to me because like how do they presume to have any stake in this business at all? Regardless of whether there's a prenup or a postnup. I don't really know how legality of this all works anyway. But like, what has it got to do with your husband's parents? Like, maybe you share it with your husband, but like, what's that got to do with his parents, regardless of anything? Even if it's a joint company shared between you and your partner, I didn't think parents got involved in that. I don't know how they think they hold any ground in this. Even if you didn't have the prenup and postnup, how the heck would they get anything out of this business? I feel like they just shouldn't. Why do they think they're entitled to that at all? How do you convince yourself that you deserve that? I don't understand. You're ruining my body. I made it. It's mine. What a fantastic title to start this off. So this happened 2 years ago when I got my first tattoo. I was 21 and still living with my controlling mother. She was shocked when I told her I wanted to get a tattoo, but she didn't physically stop me. I got home with my upper arm tattooed, solar system with the watercolors, to find her in the living room crying. She started talking about how I ruined her body by getting that tattoo, about how she made my body so it's hers. She asked if I cried while getting it. I told her I didn't, because it didn't really hurt at all. She yelled at me, "Of course you cried. I cried because I knew what you were doing to my body." She calmed down after a while and even said my tattoo looked nice, but I felt really gross after that. She also flipped out when I got my hair cut. My sisters and I were always told that she'd sue any hairstylist who dared cut our hair. So it took me till I was 19 to finally get a short haircut, and she cried when I got my first piercing too. This woman is nuts sometimes. Calling your child's body your body is messed up beyond belief. No, your child isn't your possession. Your child isn't something that you own. Your child is, in fact, a completely separate entity. They're a completely separate individual who can do with their bodies what they wish, and it honestly has nothing to do with their parents. It's my body because I made it? Get out. Oh my God. get over it. Viewing your child like that is like so messed up. Even if it's like a heat of the moment thing and she got over it and said it looked nice. Like the fact that you even have that thought and that you can like even look at your child and view them not as a person, but as just like a product of something you made, you know, like viewing them as solely like, I created that, therefore it is mine and I control it, as opposed to that is a person that I am proud of. You know, like that's how you should view your child. That is a separate person that I helped get to this point, and I am proud of them and I love them. And I'm glad they have their individuality and can make choices for themselves. That's how you should view your child. Viewing your child like, I made them, I own them, they have to ask me permission before they do anything, because what they do to me too. Like, no, honey, no. My daughter's father wants to use her as therapy for his wife. Okay. I, 33 female, am going to preface this by saying my 6-year-old daughter's father, 37 male, I'm going to name him Jeff, has never been my romantic partner. We had a one-night stand. I don't like calling him my ex since it makes it seem like we had some kind of emotional attachment. He was never involved after I told him I was pregnant and actually wanted me to terminate the pregnancy, but I decided to raise the child alone. I have enough money to raise her without child support. For the whole pregnancy and the first 4 years, Jeff was not in the picture. On my mother's recommendation, I did send him pictures and invited him to special events, but he always replied he had no interest in my daughter. 2 years ago, he reappeared and began demanding parental rights. When I didn't know what he wanted, he sued and was told no. He was not getting parental rights. He was given the offer to pay child support and then we can revisit giving him actual rights, but he has refused. He has the money, much more than me, but he refuses. That's wild. Coming in and being like, I want to see my kids that I've said I don't want anything to do with for 4 years. I want to see them. Not only do I want to see them, I want to have parental rights over this child, and I'm going to sue you if you don't give them to me. And being told like, you can see your child and have a relationship if you pay child support with the money that you very easily have available, and being like, how dare you? I don't want to give money to this child. I just want parental rights. You can't have both, bro. If you can't even commit to paying child support when that's something that is easily within your budget, why would you deserve parental rights? Anyway, I still offered to let him see my daughter in a casual manner, no child support needed, with the agreement anything legal, medical, or educational will not involve him. He pushed the boundaries and we had a fallout. After that, we didn't hear from him for almost 6 weeks before he called to meet for Christmas. After much discussion, I agreed to bring my daughter over on the condition that my daughter's godparents could come. Thus, we went over for Christmas dinner, and finding out Jeff is married and had never told his family he had a child. It was great to be judged by a bunch of strangers. It was uncomfortable the whole time. I'm going to use fake names, but let's say my daughter's name is Katie. His wife kept calling my daughter Gabrielle. Not the actual name she used, but it was different to my daughter's name. The wife was also very physical, trying to pick up my daughter or parent her. I would block her or tell her to please let me deal with my child. The whole time, she pretty much ignored me. But Katie didn't seem nervous, so I decided to bide my time. I hit my limit when my daughter said she needed the bathroom, and this stranger went, "Oh, Gabby, you need potty? Let mommy change you." My daughter hasn't worn diapers in a while now, and she's more than capable of going alone to the bathroom. I immediately told her to stay away from my daughter and that we were leaving. The woman started wailing that I was kidnapping her baby girl and tried to lunge at me. Her in-laws got in the middle and held her, consoling her and saying that we weren't leaving and for her to calm down like she was the victim. At that point, I just glared at Jeff and told him he better explain or I'd be calling the police. He asked me to speak in private in another room and that I could just leave my daughter with his parents. No way that would ever happen. Katie's godparents took her with them despite the wife having a full meltdown. Oh my God, what an absolute nightmare. Having this happen and having a woman having a breakdown over this child that is not hers, that she's never met before, potentially leaving, and making people feel unsafe. And then this man is like, yeah, we can talk, but leave your daughter with this woman who is clearly having a breakdown and disrespecting her boundaries. She'll be fine there. Just leave her there. It'll be fine and we can talk privately. You think that, no, no. Why would anyone do that? Leave your parent, like, no one's gonna leave their 6-year-old kid with a woman who is having a breakdown and disrespecting boundaries so you can have a private conversation. Are you insane? Anyway, it carries on. Jeff and I spoke outside and he explained that he and his wife recently lost a daughter. I'm not gonna give specific details on that. All I'll say is it was sudden and nobody's fault. And as I can only imagine, it has caused some psychological issues to his wife. Apparently, he had the brilliant idea that having Katie pass as their lost child would help his wife, without telling me. and that's why he wanted visitation and parental rights. He pleaded for me to leave my daughter with him for a little bit. I asked him what the plan was when his wife heals. His response was disgusting. Well, I'll just send Katie back with you and it'll be just like before. I told him he was insane if he thought I would let him use my daughter like that. What his wife needs is therapy with a professional, not feeding her delusions. And I would not let that woman within miles of my daughter. He told me I was being cruel and didn't know the pain of losing a child. I agreed with him, but reminded Jeff that my priority is not his family, it's my child. What he and his family do to work through their grief has nothing to do with us. I also told him to call his lawyer because I am making sure he never has contact with my child. My God. Oh my God. This is one of the most just like out of touch, unempathetic, like entitled things I've ever read. Viewing a 6-year-old child, who is technically your child too, not that that actually makes a difference, as just like an object to aid in grief and not a person is astounding. You wanted nothing to do with your child for years. For years. And then you suddenly take interest specifically so you can use this child as an object to distract from grief. But I don't understand this at all for so many reasons. Like, I have so many questions with this plan. Like, one, you are mourning your child and you think that you can fill that hole by getting a completely different child and just pretending they're your old child. Like, pretending they're your actual child, using your child's name and everything. Ignoring the fact that that's not going to cause so much stress and confusion and just psychological damage on the child. I don't really understand how that would work and how that would be helpful at all. Especially when it's like, when the healing is done, we'll just send her back like nothing happened. How is that healing going to happen? If you were with a child and pretending that this child is your child and there's psychological damage, surely that's just going to end up developing an attachment and being convinced that this is actually the missing child, and then make it worse because they won't be able to separate anymore. The thing would go on for so long that this child now is so confused with so much psychological damage. The mother is now even more confused with even more psychological damage. And this dad's just there like, problem solved. Like, how? How do you think this was going to go? And the in-laws being in on it too, being like, helping and being like, she's not leaving, she's staying. Like, and these people thought this was a good idea. That's so messed up in like every fathomable way. Oh my God. What a horrifying thing to try to do to someone. I hope that that mother is able to receive intense like grief therapy. It is an absolutely horrible thing to go through. It's not something I ever want to imagine going through. It's not something anyone should ever go through. And I hope that she gets the help that she needs and she deserves. And I am wishing nothing but health and happiness and safety to this child, because even just for a day, that's a pretty horrible thing to experience. And my good God. Asked me to get out of a wheelchair spot for her stroller. I'm a wheelchair user and was taking the bus like I always do. There's specific spots at the front of the bus that are for disabled people and the elderly to use. I was sitting in my wheelchair strapped into the bus, and a woman with her twin stroller got on and asked me if I would get off so she could put her stroller where I was parked. I told her that I would absolutely not. This spot was for disabled people, not her stroller, and she can take the next bus if she really needs to. She tells me that she has an appointment to get to, so I tell her right back that she can fold her stroller up and go further into the bus if she really needs to take this one, but I'm not moving. She gestured at my crossed legs, and she had the balls to ask me to fold up my wheelchair and walk it further back. I am able to walk, just not much. I literally just started laughing and she accused me of faking my disability. She refused to move out of the front of the bus area where the driver can't have people and was promptly kicked off the bus. Good luck getting to that appointment, lady. What? The level of entitled of some people is absurd. How do you go up to someone who is on a bus and tell them to get off because you want their spot. Would you do that to a not wheelchair user? This is my question to you. If you got onto a full bus, right, and you had the option of standing, right, there are standing spots available, but all the seats are taken. Are you going to go up to someone in a seat and be like, excuse me, I need this seat because I have an appointment? You need to get off the bus, actually. I am more important than you and I have places to be. So like if you could leave, because I don't think she would. I don't think people would do that because that's rude. Your time is not more valuable than anyone else's. That is just a rude thing to do. And yet you have the audacity to go up to someone in a wheelchair and tell them to get off, or to get out of their wheelchair and walk it to the back. Wait for the next bus. If you are late for your appointment, maybe you should have gone for an earlier bus. Maybe you should have allowed yourself some time to like miss a bus or have something go wrong. It is not someone else's responsibility to move off a bus for you. Entitled Stepmother wants me to stop breastfeeding. So, context here, I'm female 28 and had my daughter, Ida, 3 months ago. My wife, 35 Taylor, and my stepmother, Mary, 45, and stepbrother, Tom, 11. Tom and I weren't close until I was pregnant. During the pregnancy, he became really interested in me and the baby and actually became quite clingy and needy on me. I felt weird, but when I tried to retreat, Mary and my dad said I was being cruel and miserable and I had the chance to be a good sister, but was being selfish and rejecting him. Along with the pregnancy hormones, it made me feel guilty, so I let him come around a lot. Taylor has a chill attitude, so has kept calm and just said she wants what I want, even though he has become resentful of her. I made it clear she was my wife and any disrespect towards her would mean he had to leave. He became focused on my bump and was touching it all the time. Mary thinks he's autistic, but no doctor has ever diagnosed him. I had Ida 3 months ago, and she's the best baby ever. She's so perfect, and I've loved seeing my wife become a mother. She's a natural at it, and it's deepened our love for each other. I've decided to breastfeed and then pump so Taylor can use the bottle to feed as well. It's been going pretty smoothly, and honestly, it's something that allows us to bond with Ida. Often, Taylor will lay with me while I breastfeed and we spend time together with Ida sleeping on my chest. Apparently, Tom was very angry that he wasn't allowed into the hospital to see me or the baby, and he kicked off when we said only mom and mother-in-law were allowed over until 2 weeks postpartum. When they did come over, he kept touching Ida's face even though he had asked not to, as we are both in the medical profession so don't want to expose our newborn to germs. When we had to get firm, Mary told us we were being horrible to a child and needed to stop. I'm sorry, if you think setting firm boundaries is being cruel to a child, you are not doing a good job being a parent, because boundaries are very important to set, especially in this instance where the boundary he's crossing and the thing he's doing is actually endangering a person. Touching the baby's face can get the baby sick. Babies do not have strong immune systems. They're telling him not to do it because they don't want harm to come to their baby. Your son being told off and having boundaries set is much less cruel and harmful than a baby getting sick, because that can be very dangerous. And if you aren't going to tell your son to stop doing something and set boundaries, someone else is going to have to do it for you. Accusing them of being cruel. I had to feed, so went to the nursery, but he had followed, and when I started feeding, he came in and watched before I realized he was there, and he asked me questions about breastfeeding. That was fine, but he's been watching me feed whenever he comes over, when I don't realize, and whenever he's been near me, he started saying boobie and reaching for my boobs and saying that he wants to try it, and it's unfair, only Ida gets it. We've tried reminding him that he's a big boy and she's only a baby. But then last week, I woke up from a post-feeding nap to find him lean on top of me with his hands and face on my chest area. When we tried telling Mary and my dad that this was getting out of hand, she said we were discriminating against his autism, and we just didn't understand that I was his special person he focused on, and I should be honored. I told her it had to stop as I was uncomfortable, and Mary said if I wanted him to stop, I would have to stop breastfeeding, as it was cruel to tease him without. This is stupid, right? Okay. I'm sorry. You cannot use, like, autism as an excuse to cause people discomfort and harm. Autism is a reason for some behaviors to occur. That is true. But it doesn't mean a lack of boundary setting has to take place. You can't just be like, oh, well, my kid has autism, so they can do anything they want if anyone tells them not to. That's ableist. Like, that's not how this works. Boundaries are still incredibly important with literally everyone. This is an 11-year-old child who by this point in time should know that it is incredibly inappropriate to touch people like that. It's inappropriate to touch people without asking in general, and is old enough by now to be told why specifically touching like the breasts of an adult is something that is inappropriate. And yes, the baby is suckling and like drinking milk because that is the baby's mother. That is what happens. And you can explain that to him and say, but that is not something you can do. And encouraging it to happen and being like, you should be grateful. You should be honored. You're his special person. If you don't want him to do that, you have to stop breastfeeding your child. Like, encouraging this behavior is horrifying in a lot of ways, right? Because like, if he's doing this to this person now, right? Like, you're lucky this is his stepsister. You can have this conversation and have this sorted out now. But if you are normalizing this behavior and not setting boundaries and saying that this is wrong, he can go on to do this to other people, whether that be girls his own age or anyone else. It means that like, he doesn't need consent to touch people's boobs. That's something that he can just do. He's entitled to that because, as you've enforced, oh, you're autistic, so therefore people can't tell you no. You're allowed to touch people if they interest you, because that is what you have validated. And also on top of that, in the other way, is that it also opens doors to adults taking advantage of that behavior, because he thinks that's a normal thing. He thinks that he is allowed to do that to adults. That is a normal thing. That is an appropriate thing. That is opening him up to be taken advantage of. And if this person said yes, like, surely you would see how that would be. Like, if you are saying to someone, you should just let my 11-year-old, like, sleep on your boobs and, like, touch your boobs and breastfeed. Like, if someone said yes to that, that's a problem. That type of person shouldn't be around your kid, you know? Like, this is extremely problematic from his mother. Opening up the door to him taking advantage of people later on, or even now, as he is quite literally sexually assaulting someone now. It's opening up the door for him to continue violating people's boundaries and touching people without consent and harming people in the future. And it is also allowing him to be taken advantage of now. There is no excuse for that. There's no reason for this to be happening. Boundaries are important for everyone. And it's actually ableist for you to think that people with autism are unable to comprehend boundaries. It's ableist of you to believe that autism means that they aren't able to understand things and aren't able to, like, communicate at all and have no general understanding or empathy of people. Like, that's you being the problem here. And also, if you think that he is autistic and it's manifesting in a way where he is avoiding boundaries and actively harming people, you do need to seek medical help for that, because you are neglecting him. If you are allowing him to let this impact his life negatively to the point where it is endangering him and endangering others, you do need to seek help for that. You haven't sought out a diagnosis. You haven't done anything. You're just like, oh, well, I think he's autistic, so therefore he's allowed to do whatever he wants. And, like, that's going to cause so much resentment, too, in the way that, like, he will understand when he's older, because he is going to learn why this isn't okay. He is going to learn about sex and bodies and what he was doing and why it was inappropriate and how it was making this person feel. And when he's an adult, or even in just, like, a few years' time, looking back, there is a very large potential of him to feel incredibly guilty about these actions, but he was never told why it was wrong. He was never told it wasn't okay. And that would make him feel guilty and uncomfortable and upset and cause him psychological damage. Like, no matter how this plays out, if you do not set boundaries for your child and explain to him how things work, you are causing him harm and you are causing others harm. And that is your fault as the parent, completely and utterly. I hope that you were able to disconnect from your family here, because you are in danger, your baby is in danger, and I hope that, you know, people are able to get involved and sort this situation out and your stepbrother gets the help that he deserves, and people that look after him and actually care about his well-being and don't just let him do what he wants because it's easier. Neighbor opens my parcel and shouts at me for the content. I can't actually believe this conversation just happened. The sheer entitlement and ridiculousness of it has made me laugh, but also left me speechless. I ordered a mug from Amazon as a gift to my best mate. The mug had the C word, on it. I hate not swearing. It's so difficult, honestly. With the C as the handle. Cute mug, would recommend. Anyway, there is a house on the street next to mine that has a very similar address to mine, and I will often get their post and they sometimes get mine. For example, my address would be something like number 6 random street and theirs is number 6 random side street. It's annoying as they are different, plus or minus one word, but the names of myself and that family are so wildly different that you would think the postman or any delivery driver might have gotten used to that by now. But I digress. I had the notification from Amazon to say my mug had been delivered and in a safe place. I go to check and it isn't. And so I go round to the similar address house to see if it was indeed there and get no answer. I decide that I will try again later or they will bring it over before I contact Amazon. A few days pass and they don't bring my parcel round, so I get Amazon to replace it. But then, half an hour ago, there was a knock on my door. I open the door to the father of the family at the similar address holding my Amazon parcel that has been opened, and he quite literally throws it at me. Before I can form words, he says, "My 11-year-old child opened that. Don't you ever order something so disgusting again. How dare you?" And started to storm off. I register what the hell he just said and I shout after him, "Wait, what the? No one should be opening my post anyway. It's a criminal offense. How dare you have the cheek to come to my house and berate me for opening my post?" He just waved his hand at me dismissively and carried on walking. I just stood there a good minute trying to figure out if that actually happened. Well, it did, and now I have 2 mugs. I'm so tempted to just leave one on his doorstep with a note saying, "You can keep it, mate. Definitely has been made for you." Opening someone else's mail and then yelling at them for what they ordered is so funny. Especially, not even that, just being like, never ever order anything like this ever again. Are you gonna come and check all my mail now? Are you gonna you wanna come into my house and look at everything and decide if everything in my house fits to your standard? How's it got anything to do with you? Maybe tell your kid to not open other people's mail. Maybe tell your kid to not open people's mail. And if your kid can't read, if the reason your kid opened the mail is because he saw a package and he can't read the label to see that it's not for you, then he also can't read what the mug says. So like, no harm done, right? And if your kid can read, then just tell them, "Hey, read the label before you open stuff," or like, "Come get one of us to open the mail with you. Don't open any mail by yourself unsupervised." Like, simple rules to set. Don't go try set rules for someone else and what they order to their house in the mail. Come on. I absolutely think putting it with a note and leaving it outside his house saying it was made for you is quite hilarious. I definitely think that you should do that. That's plenty amusing. If I was someone who didn't have massive confrontation issues, I feel like life would be so much more funny, you know? I feel like that's kind of a fun one to leave it on. Just thinking you're entitled to other people's mail instead of telling your kids not to open other people's mail, apparently. So yeah, I'm gonna leave it here. I hope that you did enjoy this video. Let me know if you want to see another one of these. I had a lot of fun reading through these, and by fun, I mean I want to slam my head into a wall, but I was entertained. Let me know in the comments any entitled things your parents have done, or any entitled parents that you have ever encountered. I would love to read some of your stories. A massive thank you to my Sprout and Above patrons whose names are up on the screen right now. I appreciate you greatly. And a huge thank you to my Kiwi Cat patrons: Bobby, Josh, Mandy, Ikazel, Jessica, Eldo, Danielle, Elias, Chris, Samuel, Radsack, Mr. Noodle, Jonathan, and Bonbon. I love and appreciate you so much. Thank you so much for joining. If anyone else would like to become a patron, you can go to patreon.com/savvycat or click the top link in the description. For as little as £1 a month, you get my videos early. And then for £3 and up, you get things such as outtakes, bonus mini podcasts, live streams, vlogs, and more. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram and TikTok, The Queer Kiwi, and Twitter, That Queer Kiwi. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Stay safe. Keep fighting. I love you. Mwah. When you close your eyes.